Welcome back, everybody. I wanted to first thank everybody. Whoops, that's the wrong key. I wanted to first thank everybody that gave me, the best wishes when I was feeling under the weather. I really do appreciate that. Sorry, I did not specify that in the... Here, let's get GPS set up. I produced the Bomber Crew video without really saying thanks for that. So I do want to say thanks. It does mean a lot to me that you guys care, or at least are courteous. And I do thank you for that. One second, just let me, I think maybe right there. That is based on the layout of this field. I think that's good enough. And so we have 6 meters. I think we are good to go. And let's do invisible. We don't need those lines anymore. And let's be off. And we are lowered. We can get rid of that. And we can also get rid of that. I'll leave the weather up there just for a little bit until you guys, it's fine up there. Anyway, I wanted to say some of my, I did have a headache, but I was really just frustrated on the gaming industry and the direction it's going. It kind of had me down, and it just compounded my headache even more. And I just didn't have the energy to produce an episode, and I still had a headache yesterday. I don't know. I think it's because when I'm on the night shift, I sleep in another bedroom that has a mattress that is not near as good as the one in our main room. So I think that, just the extra position, it kind of hurt my back, it hurt my neck a little bit, so I don't know. I think I'll just try a sleeping mask and earplugs and then trying to sleep in our normal bed, because it is a lot better. And yeah, so the headaches, yeah, I've had headaches the last couple days, but Bomber Crew is exciting enough that it gave me, the guts to push through an episode there, and it is a lot of fun. I cannot recommend that game enough. If you guys have not seen that video, I highly recommend watching all the way through, because there are some moments that are absolutely crazy, and I don't think I formulated it very well at the original video. In the second video that I'm going to release in between the Farming Simulator episodes on, what day of the week? Wednesday. So that'd be on Thursday. You'll see it on Thursday. I talk a little bit more about how the stress makes the game absolutely what it is, because you have those moments of intense stress, and it is relieved by moments of hilarity, and that is such a huge stress relief in a comical way. It makes the game incredibly fun. It is such an amazing game. I cannot recommend that one highly enough. It is one of my new favorite games of all time. It really is. It is that good. And anyway, I'll just touch briefly. I have created a Steam user group. If you guys are on Steam and you want to join the user group, I'll put a link in the description. And basically, I will eventually be a curator, but, not like a full-time curator. My main focus is going to be these Let's Play episodes, telling stories and, stuff like that. But when I find another game that I'm either really happy about or really mad about or sad about, I will give you my thoughts, because I think a lot of you are similar, and you like Farming Simulator for similar reasons as I do, which are, yeah, driving a tractor is fun, but it's also the management aspect, it's the planning aspect, it's the thinking ahead, and those elements are present in a lot of other management games and strategy games that, I play and I like, so I figure you guys would probably like those other games for the similar reasons, but, that's not everybody, of course. But anyway, like I said, this will, it'll just be an addition to this series whenever I find a game, and I'm kind of mad at the gaming industry, because people are making games with loot crates, games that cost $60, and they have a loot crate in there. And in some cases, I'll post you a link to another channel. It's a guy called WorthABuy. A lot of you guys really appreciated my honest review of Real Farm, and I was kind of surprised at at the feedback, because it's like, well, who wouldn't be honest? And then I start to realize that, okay, the gaming industry is just kind of corrupt, and people are scared when they get a product for free or when they're paid to do a product. They're scared to give the truth on the product. And, you know, I see that a lot with, I don't know, for the longest time I was convinced that my favorite magazine of all time, PC Gamer, who I once thought never steered me wrong, you know, I thought that they were probably the most honest out there. And I think of all the big ones, they probably are, but I started looking at some of the reviews that they gave some of the recent games out there that are just, I don't know, just atrocious. And it kind of makes me sick, where it's like, even if it's a AAA game, I don't know if I've ever seen a review below 70%. So it's still like it's got some downsides, but it's acceptable. Whereas if it was a AAA, or if it was an indie game, they probably would not hesitate. And indeed, if you look at some of their lowest scores, they are of indie games. And this is all just based on feeling. I don't have the statistics that back this up, because I'm not going to go through and catalog every single score of every single AAA game. And, you know, in some part it does make sense, because they have a bigger budget, they're experienced developers, so of course they're going to make a better game, and it probably wouldn't fall below 70%. So there is some of that relativeness going on, but the fact of the matter is, I cannot support a magazine that supports a game with loot crates and gives it a decent score. And I mean, you pay, you know, their review on Assassin's Creed is not out yet, but that's probably the worst offender to date, where, based on the person that I trust, I'll link the WorthABuy. If you guys want someone that's honest, you can probably you can trust this guy. He'll tell you the good things about a game that he likes, and he'll tell you the bad things. And, you know, that's the fact of the matter. He doesn't have any. He basically believes that all of the gaming world is in a conspiracy, because even companies like PC Gamer, who aren't per se paid by big companies to do a review, they are rewarded with advertising rights and advertising dollars, and that's where they make a bulk of their money. And so I think that they are influenced a little bit. They're scared to give these AAA games a poor review, because it could mean the loss of advertising, and they want to reward those companies for all the free games they get and all the advertising dollars that they get in their magazines. And it kind of makes me sick. It's like, based on this guy's honest opinion, it's the new Assassin's Creed game. And the reason why I'm so frustrated is because I liked the story. I really enjoyed the storyline in the other Assassin's Creed games, and I wanted to kind of see how it played out, but now I'm not going to, because based on his review, it feels like they purposely put in a huge grind and a grind of side quests, and they purposely make those side quests not very much fun, so that people who don't have a lot of time on their hands, or find the side quests incredibly boring, which they are, boring and repetitive, it forces you to buy loot crates to be able to level up, to be able to meet the requirement that it takes to continue on with the storyline. And that's not an open world. If you want an open world game, look at Skyrim. That is one of the more perfect examples of an open world game. You don't have to have a certain level to do a certain quest. You can just, you know, if it's there, if you see the I mean, you can do whatever you want in that game. And it's just sickening to see magazines and reviewers endorse games with loot crates. And if you like it, that's fine, but I feel like they're not really giving you the full side of the story in these reviews, based on what I can see from one of from Mac. Mac's the guy that runs the WorthABuy channel. And if you want honest reviews, you know, he's not driven by any. The only time he does a paid review on a game is if it's truly free to play. He will not do it on any other game. He cannot be bought. If he gets a and because of his opinions, he rarely gets product keys for free. I think they sent him a Shadow of Mordor product key, and he couldn't believe it because, he's honest, and he's brutally honest, and I feel like that's what you need in a game review. It's not like every game that he hates on. he finds good stuff in almost every game, because they do have a lot of good stuff in a lot of those games, but it's just so, he's brutally honest. That's the way that I can see it. And just a word of warning, if you are still listening, he does use a decent amount of language. I do not really like that. I don't feel the need for all the language. It's kind of frustrating where you can't watch that, in a room full of, other kids or children or even really adults. What does elevating to the level of profanity really do? Like, oh, it emphasizes your point that much more because you're swearing. I don't see the need for it. Anyway, I'm not trying to say that I'm a saint or anything like that, but anyway, we'll just stop that. And I think that, yeah, it's kind of frustrating what's going on in the gaming world right now, and the people that are supporting loot crates. It's just, I mean, and can you really fault the game publishers and developers? Because, hey, if people buy them, it's a capitalist economy, right? Why not go out there and ring the people for all they want? If people pay for it, then obviously they want it, so keep on doing it. And that's the problem that we have. And I think a lot of the problem is parents and kids. So a kid gets this Assassin's Creed game. He's like, Mom, can I have 20 extra bucks to spend on these loot crates? Sure. Or whatever way the kid explains it. The parent probably doesn't know the full story of what's going on in the gaming industry, unless they recognize the trend of their kid always asking for more money after they already bought a brand new $60 game. Like, wait, you need more money? I don't know, it's just ridiculous. Before loot crates, it was the era of poor DLC. There's actually some games that do DLC very well. One of them, a lot of people are probably going to disagree, but I think Paradox, in most of their games, it feels like they do the DLC program right, where they release a game, and it is a complete game. It might not be the best game that it could be, like Stellaris, for example. It was fun when I first played it, and it was complete, but it could be better. And they did make it better for everybody who owned the game. You don't need to buy the DLC, but what buying the DLC does is it allows them to continue developing the game. And then with, like, for example, for the Utopia DLC, they released a lot of extra standard content for that game, and it made it a lot more fun for those, even for those who did not buy the DLC. But the only reason they can do that is because people buy the DLC, and so they make money off the DLC, and that allows them to improve the basic game as well. That is a great example of how DLCs should work. You don't have to buy them. You should not feel like you have to buy the DLC to complete the game or, play the game to its fullest extent. Like that game, Stellaris, is at the point now where I love it, and it is awesome, even if you don't buy any of the extra DLC. That's the way that it should work. But then DLC gets such a bad rap because a lot of these other companies, they produce a half of a game, and then if you want to complete the game, then you have to buy this extra DLC, and that's not acceptable either. And it's kind of a shame that is the trend, and it feels like the industry is going. It's, loot crates are fine in free-to-play games. League of Legends, for example, as far as I know, you cannot pay to get a competitive edge. You can pay to raise your experience level, which in the past, I actually think that they might have taken that away. But in the past, I know that you could pay to get an experience boost, which let you get more, it let you unlock other abilities and so whatever. But I don't want to go into all of that. It's kind of somewhat complicated if you don't know League of Legends, and if you do know League of Legends, then you know what I'm talking about. It's not a true advantage. But, whatever the case it may be, I'm okay with loot crates if it does not give you a true, pay to... If you can't... Was I not on DPS? No, I was. That was weird. If you cannot get an advantage in a multiplayer game, then, yeah, the pay to win, or the loot crate formula is fine. But, I mean, in a single-player game that costs $60? I mean, that's extortion. Granted, I have not played Assassin's Creed myself, so I don't want you to take my opinion on the game, but I do recommend that before you buy another AAA game, I would go check out Mac's opinion on WorthABuy, if you can stand the language. I mean, I put up with the language just because I don't know another reviewer like him that is honest about both sides of it. You know, he tells you the good, he tells you the bad, which is what you need to know when you spend $60 on a game. And a lot of the time, yeah, Steam has a 2-hour refund policy, but with a lot of these games, you know, it's not going to reveal itself until after some of these introduction quests and tutorials that they give you now are 2 hours anyway. So you don't have the time to get, to utilize that Steam refund by the time you find out that the game is what it is. And it's just, according to him, it's basically a grind that is so boring, and probably boring on purpose, that you want to buy the loot crates to be able to unlock the storyline quest, the mainline quest items. And I just don't see how that's acceptable. It's just, I don't know what else to say more on the topic. I did say that this was going to be an episode on soil erosion and, the different soil types, which I think are fascinating. And I'll get to that eventually. But for now, let's go over here for a little bit. For now, we are just going to, let's do this. For now, we are just going to plant this field, and I don't know. Sorry for going off on that rant. I know that's probably not what you guys tune into my channel for, but I don't know. It was kind of frustrating and depressing. So I just wanted to speak my mind on it, and I do feel a lot better now. I will get back onto Farming Simulator at the beginning of next episode. I do have a Steam if I didn't say it already, I do have a Steam Curator group, so you guys should join that if you want to. Well, it's more than just a Curator group. It is a Steam group that I will, like I said in the beginning of this video, I will be, run a Curator thing out of it, but I guess that's straight. Yeah, I didn't think I was going straight there for a moment, but anyway, eventually it will be, a curation channel, but it's also a group for like-minded guys to join. And, I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull some players from there at some point if I, see a bunch of guys online and I feel the need to do, like, let's do a multiplayer episode of Farming Simulator, or, whatever it might be, or Factorio. I think that could be a great asset to have. If I have a Steam group and I see who's online, and I think that could be a lot of fun. So if you guys would like, join that Steam group. And I did want to say one other thing. I've been getting requests for friendship on Steam, and I've been accepting them so far, but I don't want to be bogged down by comments every time I go to record, and that has not been the case, but I could see it being a problem in the future as my channel grows. And I don't want to have to turn off comments from my closest friends, so I think that I will probably limit my Steam friendship exception rate if you happen to send me a friend invite. So please don't be offended if that is the case and you send me a request and I do not accept. It's nothing against you personally. I want to save it for my closest friends, because I just, I don't want to get bogged down with comments. And again, that's not what's happening yet, but it could potentially be a problem as I open up this Steam group and people try to request me if I continue to grow. And I do hope I indeed hope to grow. I'm also considering doing, I don't know, I'm probably not big enough for it yet, but I'm considering doing some kind of a patronage where if, I get so much per month, I will, well, no, if I do the patron, if I have any patrons, I will let you vote and choose a game for me to review once a month, and your money would help go towards buying that game, and then buying, basically the extra time that it would take to film that review in addition to my normal episode. So I'm considering that. It's probably better to set up now before I get big, But anyway, I don't know. I'll probably wait on that. I don't want to have only like 1 or 2 patrons deciding the fate of the game that I buy. I'd probably want to wait until I am a little bit bigger at that. But all right, there we go. Let's get in there. Although it is kind of you know, if like if half of my subscribers gave me 50 cents per month, I could do a lot more gaming. And it's kind of a fun thing to toy around. You know, it's kind of funny. I used to think, like, why can't everybody in the world just give me $1? Just $1. That's all I ask. And then, you know, but then it's like I got older and I realized that money doesn't buy happiness. And honestly, in real life, well, here's the down low, guys. I'll tell you guys, because you guys are my closest supporters and I love you all. But I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to continue doing this. Probably at least for a year. Don't get scared yet. I love Farming Simulator, but I am, you know, recently I've been thinking and talking with my wife, and you know, what's the real purpose in this life? And I'm not battling depression or suicide or anything like that, but it's, you know, what do I want out of life? And I'm struggling right now with, do I want to be able to have a great job that allows me to play games in my spare time and have a lot of fun making videos and make, you know, a really good paycheck operating in the power grid in Texas, away from all of our family, working for retirement, and then when I retire, what am I going to do? The same thing that I'm doing now? You know, so it's like, what am I really working towards? Am I just, yeah, my job's fun. It allows me to do this. It allows me a lot of time off. It allows me time to go to the farm. But, you know, it allows me to make a lot of money, but then what's the point? Like, so I can retire, build a big house somewhere in Texas, and, I don't know, live away from all my family and my wife's family? It's like, is that really the life we want? Or retire in, you know, 20, 30 years and live, you know, next to them at that point when everybody's old and all of their, you know, all of my sister's kids are grown up and they don't know me. It's, family's important. Family's always been important, and like some of my well, it's a lot of weight back there. Some of my fondest memories as a kid growing up in Central Illinois, because my mom's side of the family was all close, and she had 5 siblings. Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah, and you know, all of the cousins got together. Like, we got together every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and what was it, like Memorial Day and 4th of July, and then, you know, some other times occasionally, but like those holidays were set in stone. Somewhere close to those holidays, we always got together. There was lots of food, there was lots of games, there was lots of fun, and that's what I remember, and that's what my kids aren't gonna have here. I don't have kids yet. We're gonna adopt, but at some point, but it's you know, like, do I want a big paycheck and have a big salary, or do I want to move back to Central Illinois, a place that is ugly according to my wife? I appreciate flat land because it is pretty, especially when there's, you know, you can see off in the distance, you can see trees in the distance, you can see cornfields, and I feel like I appreciate it. But my wife, who didn't grow up in the area, she grew up in the hills of California, and you know, it's kind of flat and depressing to her, so I can understand that. But, you know, and then she also has Lyme disease, so the like, she already has arthritis, and the cold really bothers her. But, you know, there's problems everywhere you live. Like here in the Austin area, cedar fever is a huge deal, and it affects a lot of people in the area, and they basically have to get a steroid shot to be able to survive Otherwise, they wish that they would die. And my wife, based on her body, she can't take steroids. It like super hyper elevates her heart rate, and she cannot sleep at night. It's really bad for her. So basically, she just has to live with it, and she wants to die and move at the same time every cedar season. You know, so it's like our family farm in Illinois is not big enough for me to farm by itself. It's just not. And if I go back there, the reason the decision is so hard is because there's no money in farming, guys. You have to specialize in some way. You have to develop a greenhouse and do farm to table, you know, collaborating with the local restaurants for a small farm. You have to find some way on the side to make extra money and extra income. And then almost always you still have to work at least a part-time job. In often cases, a lot of farmers I know that are twice as big as us, they work full-time jobs, and then, you know, they work it out so that they can always have the fall and the spring off, you know, critical times like that where they can't just drive their tractor overnight with GPS. They have to have the all day off, and you know, they work that out with their employers. But it's hard because it's like I love farming, and if I could farm full time, I would leave in a heartbeat and do it right now and move to Illinois. And I think my wife said the same thing, because you know, if I could do that, then it would give me more time off in the winter. We could get away from the cold for a little bit and travel on vacation. And you know, I often think of rich person problems or first world problems or whatever that saying is. I've been so blessed to even be considering stuff like this that it is indeed a blessing to be able to have this problem. And it's a good problem to have, where I have choices, and it's just a hard choice to make, because moving back there the farm would basically be my retirement if I ever get a chance to retire. But that's kind of the dream, being able to get to the point where I could just farm. Why didn't the marker go down all the way? That's weird. Being able to get to the point where I could just farm, that would be the dream. And that would not be a bad retirement, but the problem is, how long would it take me to get there? How long would I have to be working another job that I absolutely hate just to, you know, it's like a lot of farmers have this problem where they work a full-time job to support their hobby of farming. Because for a lot of farmers, it's like, in Illinois, I don't know what it is in UK, but in the US, the most recent census it was in the 90s. I think it was 95%, 96% of the farms in the United States are family owned and family operated. They are a bunch of families. So it's not like, you know, and then you have the problem where when you have, whoops, I think we need to do this, and then we need to lift, and there we go. Now the other marker should automatically drop. If I can turn around. So anyway, that's kind of the issue I'm facing. It's a tough decision to make. I think that I would be more happy. I would definitely be more active. I'd be in better shape. It's really hard to control my weight when you're on a rotating shift cycle, and the job that you work has an unlimited supply of soda and chips and candy and basically anything that you could possibly want to get fat. And I have a self-control problem, and I get hungry at night, and all those things that taste so good are just sitting there right next to me in the break room, and it's so hard to lay off of them. I was much better off when I did not have this job and I could control what I ate, because I could control what I buy at the grocery store, and then it's just not in the house, so I don't have to have self-control. But anyway, that's kind of a side tangent. I'm struggling with the idea of going back to the farm, and then so here's the down low. Like, if I go back to the farm, there's probably not going to be much time for this unless I'm actually making money, and that's what's hard. I think that based on my viewership rates my subscribers, I'm growing at a pretty decent rate, and I think that I could potentially have a decent enough income from this to make it worth it. But if I'm already working another full-time job, and I'm already, and I'm already working on the farm, which is, at times, it's more than a full-time job, I don't see how I'm going to have the time to also try to grow this channel, unless it is basically making me enough money where it is a small job on the side. I think that's the only way where it would work. And I'm not trying to say that so you guys come back and say, oh, like, we'll support you on Patreon, we'll give you this much money per month. Like, I love you. I'm not saying it for those reasons. I am just saying it because I want you guys to know what's going on, and it's a big decision. Like I said, it's a good decision to have, but it's stressful. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to cover what was going on with my thoughts and the stress and the decisions that I have. Again, it's not to try to burden you or, woe is poor me with all these great decisions to be able to make. I am blessed indeed to... Excuse me, my voice is going a little bit, so I guess I'm still a little bit under the weather, but I am indeed blessed to be able to have these options. I know a lot of people don't have the option to go farm even if they wanted to, and it is a small farm. Yes, I'd have to work another full-time job to support the farm, at least initially, while I, do something like convert it to organic so that we can be more specialized and make more money that way. But it's a lot of risk. It's a lot of risk. And, honestly, part of one of the scary things is if certain people get elected and change the death tax, the estate tax, I would not be able to farm. It would ruin a lot of family farms that are looking to transition to their children, to the next generation. Farmers do not make that much money, and to tax, like, it might sound like a lot, like, yeah, great, if I inherit the farm, I inherit $1 million in assets. That's only realized if I sell that and invest that money elsewhere, which would be the smartest thing to do, realistically. But for those that want to farm, they don't ever consider that option. And so what they're inheriting is a job. They're not inheriting $1 million in assets. They're inheriting a job that makes basically piddly squat. And with that job comes a lot of risk every year. And it's sad to think that if I move back home, like, there might be a new government in charge that would put a lot of small farmers out of business, and I don't like that. It's scary. It's scary to think about that. And yeah, you can say rich people problems or whatever, but it affects a lot. It affects, like I said, 96%, 90 something. I don't want to quote the exact number because it was over 90. A large majority of the farmers in America are family owned, and that scares a lot of people because that's their livelihood. That's what they love to do. And it's tradition. It's multi-generational. It's, we've owned our land for, I would be the 5th generation, 150 years. We have been farming the same land. And it would be sad to see that go based on some ridiculous tax that the government thinks that they should collect on farmers because they think that farmers are somehow rich. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, I will, you could probably hear it, but my voice is going. I think that I should probably just stop and see you guys later. I have talked enough. I do apologize because at the beginning of this episode, I discussed that, well, at the last episode, I discussed that I would talk about soil types and erosion and different tillage methods that you can do to minimize erosion, and basically, well, just the differences in soil types and the impact that it makes on the type of tillage that you do. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, but on Friday's episode. And anyway, I do thank you all for listening to me, and it's just got a big decision, lots of stress coming up, no matter what I choose. So I thank you all for listening to me, continue to ramble along, and thanks for all of thanks for everything. So I will see you guys later. Thanks again. Bye-bye.